This one was a good find. Death Race 2000. Found this in a local thrift shop when I was out hunting for stuff exactly like this. Because this is a great score. This is Death Race 2000. It's made in 1975. It's a Roger Corman movie. Stars David Carradine, Sylvester Stallone. It's a crazy movie. Movies today can get pretty crazy, but when they did crazy in the 70s, it was crazy. This is a fast-paced movie. Not only because it's about racing. I mean, it just comes at you, man. Set in the year 2000. Of course, this was made in 75, like I said, so 25 years in the future. A lethal sport in a dystopian society that is made to entertain the masses. So that this concept has come up, in movies since this. Rollerball, which actually came out like the very next year or at the end of the same year as Death Race 2000 came out. Then you got, I guess in the 80s, you've got Running Man. Basically they have to run for their lives and it's like a game show, and you watch The Running Man. It's a good movie. I don't know, skip forward to like Hunger Games, I guess. Same thing, lethal combat to entertain the masses. Meanwhile, the government is just totalitarian and screwing them over. And I guess that's kind of the concept here, the death race. But they don't call it that. In the movie, they call it the transcontinental road race. Not only do you want to get to the finish line first, you also want to kill as many people as possible along the way. In other words, like hit and run, vehicular manslaughter is like encouraged, and there's even people that, like, since they love this sport and watching it so much, that will actually sacrifice themselves to some of the drivers, and they'll just stand out in the middle of the street. Anyway, you got David Carradine, who you may know as Bill in Kill Bill, also played Kung Fu on TV back in the 70s. This movie for him was, he wanted to take a departure from that role. Yeah, it's pretty different. He's the hero in this. He is supposed to be the state-sponsored champion, and his name is Frankenstein. He's put in there by the government to win the race, and if he dies during the race, well, next year we'll just put another guy in the Frankenstein outfit, and here's the new Frankenstein, but nobody knows. Everybody thinks it's the same guy that we just sewed him back together with, like, by Swiss doctors, I believe is what they say here. Yeah, David Carradine's pretty good. He's pretty flat and, like, not a lot of... He's just that kind of actor, I guess, but it's a super cool car. Not only is David Carradine pretty good in this movie, but Sylvester Stallone, not one of my favorite actors, but I loved his performance in this. He plays a villain in this. He's a rival driver. He's Machine Gun Joe Viterbo, and he's got a pretty cool car too. But he's the villain. When's the last time you saw Sylvester Stallone as a villain, other than like Spy Kids 3 or whatever? He's always the hero, right? But no, not in this. Yeah, he's a bastard in this movie, and you just hate him. He's an all-around terrible person. He's Frankenstein's rival, and he feels like inferior to he has an inferiority complex where he just hates Frankenstein, and he wants to, because he's come so close to beating him in every race, but Frankenstein always wins, and he's pissed about it, and it was just such a turnaround from other Stallone movies, because Stallone's always like the good guy, even if he's like an anti-hero or whatever, he's still like, still like a good guy, right? Like, but in this, he's a fucker. Like I said, he's a violent murderer and, attempted rapist, I think, in a couple of scenes. Yeah, once again, this is brought to you by Roger Corman, so it's not completely serious. It's exploitative. There's a lot of violence and stunts and action and gore. And there's a whole bunch of nudity in this too. And it's the 70s, man. Like, I remember staying up super late and sneaking into the living room to watch this movie on late night television. I grew up with this movie, believe it or not. I mean, it's 1975. It was one of those late night movies. It used to be a thing back when midnight, everything would shut down except for like 2 channels, and they're still showing late night movies, and this was one of them. Yeah, I remember as a kid in school, we would talk about movies and horror movies and sci-fi movies, and this was one of those just outrageous movies. Like, they just drive around and kill people in their cars, and it's a sport. Like, yeah, it goes a little deeper. I mean, there's like a rebellion, and there's a whole twist in who's actually working for the government, who's opposing the government. All the drivers in here, I guess there's like five drivers and their respective navigators. Navigator's always the opposite sex. Like, Frankenstein has a female navigator, so does Machine Gun Joe. But then there's 2 female drivers who have male navigators. I don't know, it's just mainly so they can show, I guess, like, sex scenes and stuff. And, there's at one point where all the racers and their navigators are getting massages, and, like, there's a whole lot of nudity in that scene. And another thing I noticed, too, is that it's supposed to be a transcontinental road race, right? It is all clearly shot in California. Because right at the beginning of the movie, they show the start of the race, and yeah, they have like a big matte painting with a futuristic looking buildings or whatever, and then the cars in the front. The announcer is saying, yeah, and they're heading out of the Lincoln Tunnel, and the Lincoln Tunnel, I guess, connects like Manhattan to New Jersey, something like that. I've never been to New York, but it connects to like an urban area, and on the screen as they're saying, oh, they just came out of the Lincoln Tunnel. They come out of like some tunnel in the side of a mountain, clearly in California, or definitely not in New York. Like, geographically, it's supposed to be the transcontinental road race, and the locations make no sense. Like, so it's kind of a sci-fi, definitely an action movie, kind of a comedy, or a black comedy, I guess you could say. Because some of the stuff that happens in it is just outrageous, and you're not sure if it's like supposed to be funny or if it's just accidentally funny. It's clever, actually. It's some of the humor in here is pretty good. All the attempts at sabotaging the race are all blamed on the French for some reason, because they refuse to admit that there even are rebels, so they blame it on the French. Yeah, there's a plot to kill the president, actually, and a plot to kill Frankenstein, and people die all over the place. But I really, really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I am nostalgic for this movie. I was blown away when I found this in the thrift store. I was like, man, I haven't seen that in so long. This movie, this is an A. I don't care if you call this a B movie. This is definitely an A for me. Maybe not an A+. It's no Empire Strikes Back, let's be honest. I plan on watching this a lot more times. I'm going to wear this tape out because, the VHS does degrade over time. And but I'm going to wear it out, man, because this is a great movie.